Happy Friday, everybody. We're back. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets, powered by FTN, presented by Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you on this Friday. Lots to get to here on this show. We're not actually live on Game Plus Network today. We will return on Game Plus on Monday. So if you've been looking for this show, wondering where we've been, we were off for a couple days. We do have our guy Tino back here today. He was in Vegas for a fantasy sports conference, and we picked up some hardware. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. He's going to jump in. Of course, the NBA is on an All-Star break, but we want to talk about the All-Star game just a little bit. Those hanging out live here on the FTN YouTube page, smash the like button. You have any comments, any questions, you want to be part of the show, we do appreciate that. I see a lot of content already. Yeah, the very sweet hat. I had to rock it, right? Because they lost us a lot of cash last night, unfortunately. We were on the St. Louis Blues on Dangle Bet, selling all over the place over at ftnbets.com. We'll get into that in a little bit. There's 4 games on the ice tonight, 4 really good matchups, actually. You got Vegas and Los Angeles, 2 stingy teams at 5-on-5. We got Jack Eichel in game number 2. Will Max Pacioretty finally break out? He's been in a little bit of a slump. We have 2 of my favorite teams going in the NHL tonight. No, the Canadiens are not in action. We do have a really good matchup in Minnesota tonight between the Wild and the Florida Panthers. We got Nashville and Carolina. These 2 teams battled it out in the playoffs last year. So we do have a couple really intriguing matchups in the NHL to talk about. So some picks and some props, and hopefully we bounce back in terms of just picks. I think, overall yesterday was pretty bad, and I feel like I owe you guys quite a bit for just really hammering the St. Louis Blues. At the end of the day, I think the process still remains the same when it comes to picking on the Montreal Canadiens. They have 3 wins in their last 26 games. We just got burned last night. We had the Blues in regulation. Cole Caulfield scores with 10 seconds left to tie it up and then into overtime. We'll try to bounce back here on this show and get into that. I'm seeing a great college basketball conversation happening as well. This is kind of the moment where we really need to turn the page on this show. Starting next week, we will start to dive into college hoops. We're definitely going to have a lot of March Madness talk here on the show. We'll look at some odds and some futures and stuff in Major League Baseball. I know that it seems like we're well away from a baseball season happening, right? Yesterday was not encouraging at all. They sat down for roughly 15 minutes and it was done. Just like that. See you later. I'm still optimistic that we will have a season ready to go on time, but they are running out of time. But we will really start to turn the page here when it comes to Major League Baseball and getting into the college sports. NFL never stops, right? We are going to have a little bit of an NFL conversation on this show as well. Just a tiny bit. We have an article over at ftnfantasy.com. It's free to check out. It's quarterback carousel. A few of us got together. Shout out to Daniel Kelly, who really made it all happen. But myself, Jeff Ratcliffe, Matthew Friedman, our guy Derek Brown, we all just took a look at every single team and who the starters. There's probably about 20, 22 teams we all agreed the starting quarterback. We all know who the starting quarterback is going to be with those teams. But there's a good, 8 teams or so that they need a quarterback. What are the Steelers going to do? What are the 49ers going to do? What are the Colts going to do? Is Carson Wentz going to be cut here today? What are the Bucs going to do without Tom Brady? There's certain teams who I think will draft a quarterback. Probably Carolina. I'd say Washington. But there's also some teams like Pittsburgh. San Fran's fine. We know what they're going to do with Trey Lance. Pittsburgh, the Colts, these are win-now teams. I think that they're going to be looking maybe for a veteran. We'll talk about that with Tino. We'll touch on that. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as well. There really is a lot of college basketball talk going on live here on Mean Streets, and I really do love all of that. And we do have some of the NBA props, and we also have first quarterback off the board we can dive into a little bit as well. This is going to be, I think, a quicker show. We'll break here in a moment and bring Tino in, and we'll talk about all that stuff, and then I'll wrap up the show with some NHL picks. But let's get after last night and talk about some of the 3 stars. Let's start in the NHL, of course, with our guy, Cole Caulfield there. I had a guy last night in my beer league rec team. He was betting last night for the first time, and he saw the show. Dangle Bet Sally, Eric Young, and myself were all over St. Louis. Had St. Louis to win in regulation. Had him on the puck line. Sprinkled a little bit on them to have 4 goals. Had Buchnevich to score and Tarasenko to have an assist. That stuff happened, but they really did let us down last night. But good on Cole Caulfield here. 2 goals and 3 shots. He had one goal in 30 games with Dominic Ducharme as the head coach, and he hadn't played over 17 minutes. I think one of the 30 games, yes, one of the 30 games he played over 17 minutes. Last night, he had 21 minutes of ice time. It was a season high for him. He played 18 the game before that. Who would have thought, right? Having a guy like Cole Caulfield in your fourth line and second power play just wasn't going to work. So in 4 games with Martin St. Louis behind the bench, he has 4 goals. And like I said, he's getting a lot of ice time. He's cleared 2.5 shots in back-to-back games. That's been plus money as well. So Cole Caulfield's going to be somebody we have our eye on from a shot prop standpoint. An anytime goal in DFS. He was basically min price yesterday. We did have him in the article, but really, I was feeling the St. Louis Blues last night. And it's something, I guess, to keep in mind when we are picking on the Habs. They're still one of the worst teams in the league. They're still going to sell here at the deadline. You know, sometimes I guess teams will maybe take them lightly. I saw a little bit of that with St. Louis, maybe just, trying to be a bit too fancy last night. Maybe just, sleeping on the Habs, and the Habs played pretty good, but nonetheless, we got to bounce back from that one. But Cole Caulfield hits the board. Patrick Laine has been on this board a couple times over the past week and a half or so. A hat trick last night. 29 games this season. He's got 16 goals and 31 points. In 45 games with the Columbus last year, his first season with the Blue Jackets, he had 10 goals and 21 points. So he's back up to his point per game pace, and more so a 30-goal scorer that we've known to love with Patrick Laine. 36 as a rookie, 44 as a sophomore, and 30 in his third season in the NHL with the Winnipeg Jets. And he's got 4 multi-goal games over his last 8, and he does have at least 1 goal in 6 of his last 8 games. 5 shots on goal last night. The Blue Jackets had their way with Chicago. That was one game we did get right, the Blue Jackets and the over last night. It's been a couple dud days in a row. We really need to bounce back. Want to give some love to Jack Campbell. Been pretty hard on him over the past week or so. On this show on Dangle Batselli as well. He was, let's be honest, he was going through something. And last night, he was fantastic against the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's topped 45 of the 46 shots that Pittsburgh threw at him. We didn't get the over in that game. Still, following trends, right? It's been 21 of Toronto's last 25 games. We've seen at least 6+ goals. Or at least 6 goals, and most times it's been over 6, but Jack Campbell stole the show last night, so he gets some love as well. Over to the NBA. We have 3 stars in the association last night. Luka Doncic, man, he's on a heck of a tear since Kristaps was traded. 49 points, 15 boards, 8 assists, and again, 7 threes. We touched on him last week when he had the monster 55-5-5 game with 7 threes in the first quarter. Luka Doncic is the 4th player in NBA history with multiple 45-point, 15 rebound, 5 assist games in a calendar month, and the first since Wilt Chamberlain in 1966, the former Kansas City Jayhawk. Luka Doncic, again, 4th player in NBA history. He's there with Baylor, Bellamy, Wilt Chamberlain, some pretty elite company there. So he had 45 points through 3 quarters, right? He's been unbelievable. And another guy there that's been unbelievable is Joel Embiid. Embiid's been fantastic, 42, 14, and 5. A phenomenal showing for him last night. 14 for 21 from the floor, 3 for 4 from beyond the arc. A W in Milwaukee against the Bucks, literally unstoppable. And you know what? I watched a bit of that game, especially in the 4th. Dude was double-teamed nonstop, and he was able to put up those performances. I gave you that Luka stat. It was from ESPN Stats and Info. This one is from ESPN Stats and Info as well. 9 40-point, 10 rebound games this season. Over the last 30 years, the only players with more in a season, Russell Westbrook, who had 12 in 2016, and James Harden, who had 10 in 2018. So Joel Embiid with 9 is well on his way, I think, to passing both of those guys. 1 more, he passes Harden, and 3 more, he passes Russell Westbrook. And then the other guy on that list, wanted to give a little bit of love to CJ McCollum as well, who had a pretty good game, didn't get the W against the Mavs, but 38 points, 7 threes, and 5 assists. Now, we've had a couple games, a little bit of a small sample size here with CJ McCollum with the Pelicans, but he had 30 points in his game before that. He's jacked up 25-plus shots in back-to-back games. His point prop last night was at 30, so he's a guy we really like as well. I can't keep up with all the college basketball talk. Josh is checking in why Luka gets so much credit for his triple dubs, but Westbrook was stat padding. Neither has won anything. Is that a shot at Luka? I'm not sure. Yeah, well, whatever. I think Luke is 10 times the player Russell Westbrook was and still is right now. I know Westbrook was missing free throws at the free throw line trying to get rebounds, but was he going to hit them if he tried anyways? I don't know. We'll see. We'll bring in Tino, and we'll talk a little bit about his adventure in Las Vegas, and we will talk a little bit about the NFL and get into the NBA as well. And clearly, I think we are going to talk a little bit about college basketball. Mean Streets continues here. Keep her locked. Welcome back in. Mean Streets here live on Game Plus Network, mostly FTN Network,
Sort of.
Our YouTube page. It's just a habit. We missed you, dude. We were away for a couple days here. George filled in on Dangle Betselli. We went 3 times with Eric Young. We're back here today. We're officially back on Game Plus Network on a Monday. How did Las Vegas treat you? And we also took home some hardware, which is pretty good. And it's not that trophy behind you under the Piazza jersey, which I just noticed for the first time.
Yeah, Dynasty trophy right there. And I'm still recovering from it. I had the Dangle Betselli ticker up for a little bit to start this show. So clearly the Labatt is still in the blood flow. It was good. Vegas is Vegas. I've been there enough now that I kind of know what to expect. But then again, you don't expect to lose as much money as you do as quick as you do. I came up a little bit, but, one round at the blackjack table will do you in. And all the progress you made, it's goes out the window relatively quick once those 21 start flowing. But we did take some hardware away. And George has a nice little graphic for us here. Let's look
at this. This is pretty cool, right? Best written content startup, FSGA. Pretty good conference. I've been there myself. Not when it was in Las Vegas. I was there a few years ago in Nashville. But yeah, this is pretty good. Congratulations to everybody. Really, it takes a lot of hard work, right from Daniel Kelly editing all those articles. Obviously, Jeff is a big contributor as well. But yeah, some good stuff there. Jeff accepting the award, best written content startup. That's pretty slick. And I saw Pat Mayo tweeting a picture of behind Jeff Ratcliffe, tweeting a picture of him showing that we won this award. So we had the live action shot there as well from Mr. Pat Mayo. But what did you think overall of your time? Did you get to mingle with anybody?
We did.
Jeff probably was doing his own thing, but
yeah, Jeff was out and about. Yeah, I was able to get down with Thomas Viola a little bit. Shout out to we had a little producer meeting, I guess you could call that, and I was there with Benny Ricciardi, of course, and then Matthew Freeman was there. We didn't have too many FTN heads there, but we got to network with a lot of other people, which was nice. The Prize Picks people were there, so on and so forth. So it's cool, kind of putting a name to face to a lot of the a lot of the people you work with, kind of on the outside that you don't really get a chance to cross. I do want to kind of get into this. I know we want to talk about Vegas, but speaking of Vegas, I do want the people in the chat to know the reason I'm triggered on Michigan State, if you can't tell, was because I did bet them in Vegas, and that set off the trip on a very low note after they blew that. And right now they're debating whether or not Duke is fraudulent or not. And I think actually I do come at Brandon Gilden's takes a lot, but this is his best take of all time. Duke is always fraudulent.
Always. They always choke, man.
If you're debating this, just save your breath, man. Like, Duke is Duke until it's time to shine in the Sweet 16, and then they'll inevitably let you down. So, Duke is fraudulent. We don't have to harp on college basketball too much, but, hey, we're almost there, Meaney. We're a couple weeks away from the madness.
We really are. Yeah, we're going to start to pick it up here on this show. Like I've said before, I can jump in here in the conversation, but you guys don't want me to give the picks. You can give some picks. Jordan is hanging out in the chat. He's a super sharp dude as well. And definitely knows his college basketball and probably watches more than most college basketball analysts are right there on par, honestly. I've known the guy for years, and he's pretty sharp. Not to say that Brendan Gilden isn't, or Josh Gillum, who's hanging out there as well. But we will start to have some college basketball talk. Like you said, we're just a couple weeks away from flipping the calendar to March as well. So, did you have Meaney all over the Jayhawks? Yeah, I'm a bit of a homer, but I'm realistic as well. We talked about Duke being fraudulent. I mean, the Jayhawks are always a team that chokes as well. They never really get it done, in the tournament either.
College basketball is interesting this year because they kind of touched on it. It seems like nobody really wants to win. I think the standout team that will probably be back next year is Gonzaga, that everyone's kind of leaning towards. For a while, sure. I think you'd be hesitant on it. And yeah, they have a cupcake schedule, I guess, to kind of get there. But they'll probably have the easiest path of the 1 seeds. And I think it's hard to, go against their battle-tested this. Out of all the teams right now, I'd say that's the only one I think anyone could be for sure on. But I also want to note that I'm getting a lot of slack that it's impossible to win on the road in the Big Ten. And I put a straight money line bet on Wisconsin to win on the road while I was also in Vegas. And that happened. So don't tell me it's impossible. It is possible. But right now, college basketball is crazy. And I think these conference tournaments are going to even be crazier because that's the thing. I think the hardest thing right now is that all these teams are fierce at home. What happens when we get to a neutral site? I don't know. It's gonna be nuts. I think you're gonna want to take a lot of points is the best way to look at this. I'm taking all the +5s, all the 4.5s, and we'll call it a day through there. What do we got here is dependent on if Arizona is a 1 or 2 seed though. Yeah, I mean I guess so. The Pac-12 is full of frauds too. If we're just throwing the fraudulent term out there, I think
we might as well. Yeah,
I mean every
list of frauds.
Yeah. What conference doesn't seem full of frauds right now? I think Auburn maybe you can make a case isn't necessarily fraudulent, but it's like, the SEC. So, yeah, I don't know. Baylor frauds, though, for sure. Every Big Ten team in the top 10 is fraudulent. Rutgers, though, not frauds. Let's stand behind the fraud, boys.
We'll get back to the college in a little bit. Jordan, I want to hear who you think right now, if you had to put some money down on to win the Madison. Don't give me the top favorite. He will, but give me right now. Arizona's legit. He likes Arizona, but Jordan, hang it out. I want to hear who your money is on right now. Is it February 18th? Who is it? So did you sprinkle any sports books like you do any betting there? Obviously, I mean... Probably gave you the Wild the other night, which didn't work out. And also, were you on the St. Louis Blues last night? Because that didn't work out either, right? Well, Labatt's across the board last night at Rec Hockey after that game, man.
So I tried to troll you guys, and I still ended up getting the brunt end of it because you were saying the Blues, and you were like, the Canadians are going to win, go money line. And then I told you, I was like, win in regulations, +350. So I did bet them +350 to win in regulation. I should have just taken the +200 money line. The Wild killed our last heave-ho parlay there. We were getting a red eye out, and we needed to bet everything before a certain time before we head to the airport. So that was like the only hockey game at the time that we could bet. And so we ended up throwing that in there. We had the Nets +4.5. We had Rutgers +4. We had Liverpool, and we had the Pacers. So we went 4 for 4, and the Wild crushed our 5-leg parlay on the way out. Would have been nice, Meaney. Would have really been nice and covered a lot of losses. But honestly, per usual, because me, you, and George were all on the same page. And you remember I asked you, too. I was like, I bet the Wild. Is that a mistake? And it didn't seem like a mistake. It did not seem like a mistake.
They've handled every team in the league over the last 2 months. I think they have 3 losses in their last, 16 games or something silly, but 2 of them have been against the Jets. So maybe that is it. But certain teams, I guess, just have certain teams' numbers. I don't know what it is there. Let's bring up this comment from Jordan. He says that Kentucky, I think you might have to scroll up a little bit, Kentucky to win it all. And I think Gilden is on the boat there as well. I mean, it's a bit of a chalky pick, but it's not one that I hate. That's for sure. Certainly.
Well, I actually like this pick more because if you talk about inconsistencies, a team that doesn't know how good they are yet is Alabama. If you look at their their strength of wins, and that's a team where they can kind of play anywhere and they have Absolutely. A chance. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Gilden just kind of harped on it. If they get past their first game, they're a threat. I think they're a legit contender for like an Elite 8 run, and then at that point, where the dust settles, you have no idea. That's the thing with madness, man. Sometimes you can get through your tough schedules, and then if a dark horse like a UMBC ends up like making it further than they should, you end up in a nice little position later in the tournament. So the draw definitely matters. But yeah, Bama's a letdown in the regular season, but they're gonna get in. It's gonna be exciting, man. It's gonna be really exciting, especially coming off a year where we didn't have an NCAA tournament 2 years ago.
My goodness.
Last year we had it. I tried to block it out and act like that never happened.
Right. Yeah, this should be much like years in the past. So there's a couple things we want to touch on, some NBA stuff and some NFL stuff. Let's do NFL if you have it ready. Why not? Just kind of touch on this a little bit. There's an article over at FTN fantasy.com. It's free, kind of touches on all the different quarterbacks. And as you see here, we got the board of just, 4 quarterbacks. Of course, there's a couple more we could throw on this board. Deshaun Watson is probably the most confusing one of all, really, to kind of get into. Is this guy going to play in the NFL again? Is something going to happen with him legally? Does he stay in Houston? Does Carolina trade some assets? Does Washington trade some assets? Does Tampa Bay go the veteran route? And, I say veteran route, but man, if they were able to get, Deshaun Watson, we'd still consider them as, Super Bowl contenders for certain. And, maybe he's the quarterback of the future there for the next 10 years or so in Tampa Bay. We have Jimmy Garoppolo here, is a guy that's most likely going to be gone from the 49ers, a veteran quarterback that can go into Pittsburgh or maybe into Indy. You see Carson Wentz there on the right as well. A lot of talk. It does sound like they're just going to release him. They're looking to trade him, but who's going to try to acquire him? You got the Eagles picking, 16th overall here in the draft, and it is Indy's pick. They traded that first to get him, and clearly things didn't work out for him last year in Indianapolis, when at moments it did look like he was just fine and they were cruising to the playoffs, and then they lost to the Raiders, and then they lost when it all mattered to the Jags, which was probably the nail in the coffin for Carson Wentz. And then Russell Wilson, I think he stays, but Washington and Carolina again on this list. I'll just kind of run through this article and just kind of give you and the viewers and the listeners just a little bit of a feel of what some of us were thinking here on the board. So for the Panthers, Debro had Sam Darnold still there. Friedman had Deshaun Watson. Kelly had Deshaun Watson. I had them drafting Malik Willis, and then Ratcliffe had them drafting Kenny Pickett. For the Broncos, we all had them drafting a quarterback across the board, all 4, right? Howell, Corral, all those guys in there as well. The Texans, we all had Davis Mills being the starting quarterback for Houston, except for Ratcliffe. He had them drafting Malik Willis. For the Colts, Jimmy Garoppolo there from Debro. I had Teddy Bridgewater there, which is a really unsexy pick, but he's a game manager. He's a little bit more accurate than Carson Wentz, and they just need somebody to not turn the ball over there in Indy. Strong run game, decent D. The offensive line is really good, and Teddy Bridgewater does take care of the football. Ratcliffe had Jimmy Garoppolo going there. Friedman had Carson Wentz going there, and Kelly had Jordan Love getting traded to Indianapolis, which was just a little bit of a curveball there, just trying to think outside the box. The Saints, we all had Jameis Winston re-signing with New Orleans, and Debro Taysom Hill. The Giants, we all had Daniel Jones. I had Mitchell Trubisky there. We can get into that in a little bit. There's a bit of a connection there with obviously Dable, and maybe they bring him over, and maybe he plays behind Jones, but potentially there's a quarterback battle. Who knows? With the Steelers, Brown had Mason Rudolph there. Kelly had Gardner Minshew, who's also a guy that potentially could be a starter across the league somewhere, a veteran quarterback who maybe could help out the Steelers. I had Carson Wentz going there. For the Seahawks, Russell Wilson across the board from everybody. Ratcliffe had Teddy Bridgewater there, and Kelly had Jimmy Garoppolo. We get to the Bucks, Deshaun Watson from Ratcliffe and Debro. I had Jimmy Garoppolo there. Friedman had Jimmy Garoppolo there as well. And then the final team on the board here that really needs a quarterback, Washington, the Commanders. Russell Wilson, Ratcliffe has him there. Kelly has him there. I had Deshaun Watson there as well. Let's just stick with Washington. This is a team that needs a quarterback, right? Clearly. They've had 11 different quarterbacks since 2017. Terry McLaurin has had multiple quarterbacks. I don't think... Clearly, they can draft someone if they want to, but I think they should try to shuffle it up, man. I think they should try and go and get a guy like Wilson or Watson. I don't know if they have all the assets to do so, but this is a team that really needs a quarterback, man. They need to figure that out.
Well, I think, though, so I know what you're saying. It's easier for them to draft. I think they have to, though. Like, I don't know. Like, if they were going to trade for one of those guys, they're probably going to have to get rid of their first, which is the issue. I think they've been beating around the bush since Dwayne Haskins, and even before Haskins, they're trying to prolong this as long as possible because they haven't been able to get it right at the quarterback position. Probably their last good quarterback, realistically, is like Kirk Cousins, right? Isn't that weird?
You're not wrong.
Seriously,
You're
right?
spot on. Yeah.
So I think they got to draft someone. I don't know if they have a preference, and I think if they go after one of the vets, it's not that it's not a good move and they won't be competitive. I just think long term for the franchise, they really got to try to address getting a rookie quarterback in there because of how poorly the first round pick with Haskins went. So Washington makes sense. I do want to touch on your Trubisky comment because that's actually not far fetched and something we were talking about a lot recently within the Giants community. It's that obviously the ties. And it's kind of perfect for Daniel. Well, when you think about it's enough of a push, but it's not an overbearing like veteran hanging over his shoulders who can win now, right? It's not like I've been saying a Teddy Bridgewater is like perfect for this team type of thing, a veteran body. But if you bring in a Mitch Trubisky, it's kind of like no pressure. The guy's been there before, knows the offense, but it's still Mitchell Trubisky. Out of all the guys, I told you last night, Jimmy G to Pittsburgh, I don't know why it makes so much sense to me. I really don't know why. It just like I can see it. Him and Mason Rudolph would be the best of friends. I have no idea what's going to happen with Carson Wentz. I don't know who's going to want Carson Wentz, right? I mean, after he was leaving Philly, everyone's like, no one's going to want this guy. Then he went to Indy. Indy loved him. Now Indy's like, okay. So, where do you even go after that, right? I'm not sure. I think the Panthers make a lot of sense for some of these guys, but at the same time, they're in a position within the top 10 to draft a quarterback too. And I know we're going to get to the quarterbacks drafted, but the more I think about it, I think the early mock drafts, some of them are starting to take quarterbacks within the top 10, but early on, you didn't really see the action. I think there's quarterback needy teams. And as much as I'm not exactly in love with a lot of the prospects this year in the draft class, I think they're going to be eager to go up and get a quarterback. I think Pittsburgh, I think Denver, I think Carolina. People are ruling out Houston getting a quarterback. Davis Mills showed promise. I don't think they're out of the question. Like, there are going to be teams here that are making plays at some of these young guys because how could you not? And then you could still make a bid at some of these veteran quarterbacks and take a Kenny Pickett maybe who's ready to go now. Or, depending on how you think about a Malik Willis, some people say he has to sit. Some people says, he's the next best thing. You don't have to put that pressure on him if you do make a move and get a veteran guy and then still draft him with your capital. I still think that's the best way for NFL quarterbacks to go about their QB rooms, right? Or NFL teams to go about their QB rooms. It's to not put pressure on rookie quarterbacks too soon and let them get a feel of, a feel and lay of the land. And the good thing is this year, I think a lot of good teams or good positions will be good teams in position will be drafting quarterbacks, unlike the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, right? Or even with Burrow the year before, right? You're taking these quarterbacks so high, but the team around them just isn't there. The teams are still going to drastically suffer. I think like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're in a great spot either way. I think if they get a Jimmy G or they draft a Kenny Pickett, you're probably still, going to be a 9-win competitive team.
Yeah, there's some rumblings about Willis, but I don't know if he's going to fall that far. I mean, for the Steelers, they're picking at 20, right?
I think they got to trade up
a little bit.
So the thing is, the Giants, you got the Eagles, you got the Jets. There's a lot of teams with multiple first-round picks high up. So I think there's going to be a lot of action, which is weird too as a Giant fan. And even with the Jets, those teams traditionally don't necessarily move. The Jets, if they move up, and they give too much to do it. So it's like I could see the Steelers giving up their first next year and some other guys, maybe a player or two that is on an expiring contract. I hear rumblings that maybe they're going to throw Devin Bush in whatever package they do. I think that would be an extreme, but that's a talent that would move the needle and probably get them from 20 all the way up to inside the top 10. So something to pay attention to. They would have to trade up. He's not falling that far. I think all these guys, we're going to have 2 or 3 guys inside the top 10, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I got a couple of notes here, some things I wanted to say. If you can find that Andrew Ford comment on why Aaron Rodgers isn't on the board, you might have to scroll up a little bit, but he did ask that question. I just think he stays. I think we get to the point where we're at the point now where it does sound like he's going to stay in Green Bay. And I think that he stays there. We've talked before about his situation. I understand he's been frustrated with the Packers, over the past couple of years. I mean, God, he's only thrown a touchdown pass to 1 first-round pick his whole career, right? And it's a backup tight end, right? In Mercedes Lewis. So get him some weapons. I understand. I think they should trade Jordan Love and maybe get something for him, and maybe they can, stockpile some picks. Maybe, Love could be okay somewhere. But there's a couple of things I wanted to say. I think Rodgers stays in Green Bay. I think you're onto something. Like Pittsburgh, Carolina, Denver. These are three teams that I could see drafting a quarterback, but I also feel like Pittsburgh has a win now roster. So what you said with Jimmy G, I think makes a lot of sense. And the same thing with Tampa Bay. Are they going to draft a guy? I don't think that they're going to draft a guy. I think that maybe they'll be in on Jimmy G. Maybe Kirk Cousins' move. Maybe he's a veteran quarterback that they could acquire. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater, but I don't think he'd be the guy that could really get them over the top. But I think they're in on a veteran quarterback as well. Also, speaking of Tom Brady, I did see, I think it's Caesars has an MVP prop for him, like a future 45-1. And if he doesn't play, you get your money back. I think it's totally worth like a sprinkle at 45-1 for him to win the MVP. Who knows, right? If he's going to come back at all. Mitch Trubisky to Carolina, Gilden says, is pretty interesting. Obviously, you have the UNC there connection there. But my thinking with Trubisky is, Dable wanted to bring him in. He brought him in Buffalo. He pushed for him. Now he's going to New York where it's a clean slate, right? You guys clean house. Nobody is married to Daniel Jones here. I'm sure maybe they give him the benefit of the doubt, but if they bring in Trubisky, who's a free agent who you can get for cheap, and all of a sudden he starts, he's doing some things. Yeah. It's an open quarterback competition. Maybe he's the starter. Who knows? Right? It's not totally out there. That's all I'll say.
Well, I also see, I want to tie this into, I mean, we're talking Trubisky. I see a lot of Rodgers chatter maybe to Tampa. One, I don't think Brady's done. I really don't. I think he's playing this as well as he could. I think he's going to wait. But because he hasn't filed his papers yet and all the loomingness of the day-to-day talk and the family and so on and so forth, I don't know. I really think he might be going back to Tampa. But the thing with Rodgers, it makes no sense to me for him to leave the NFC. The NFC is so winnable for any of these like quarterbacks, these veteran off quarterbacks. Like, I mean, we were trying to bring back Drew Brees last year for the same reason. If you're a competent quarterback, you can make it relatively far in the NFC. I don't see why he would go to Denver. It doesn't make sense to me, right? That to the Raiders, like, I mean, I get it, but like we're talking about how he hasn't won. I think Rodgers wants to win, and for him to go to the AFC, I think is the opposite of what he would want to do.
Right, that's what we talk about so much. Dude, stay in Green Bay. There's no competition in the division. Brady just retired. Yeah. If Russell Wilson leaves and goes to the AFC, who are you competing with? You're going to get a home game at Lambeau. It's probably going to be crappy weather. You're going to have to deal with it. But honestly, you're getting a first-round bye if you stay in Green Bay. It's pretty much a look.
The thing with Jimmy G to Pitt, I just wanted to throw the analogy out there just because I see some Washington talk. And you mentioned they have like a win now roster. Washington, now granted, they made the postseason and hosted a game with a losing record. We're all aware, and that wasn't the most, justified. But they went to get Alex Smith, right? And Alex Smith was a proven winner. He wasn't the flashiest. He wasn't this, and that. I think Alex Smith and a Jimmy G are I think Alex Smith could do more with his legs, obviously, but they're not a terrible comparison. Whereas if you can get him on a team that's competent enough roster-wise, the guys can win games. And I think for them, he could go to Washington too. I think Jimmy G going to Washington makes a ton of sense too. I think they're the same spot. I think if you put those guys there, I just think Jimmy G is going to get you 8 to 9 wins. And like I said, if you can get him in Pittsburgh, which is a tough division, or even Washington, where the division is such a toss-up, he put you in a playoff position. I think Jimmy G's a playoff quarterback. Deshaun Watson's the only one on there, and I told you I was so worried to even bring it up. I have no idea, but tell me not. He's the one on that list that probably moves the needle the most, right? I mean,
he's a game changer. Like,
he's not a top 5 quarterback when he left, right? It's insane.
I would love to see a team like Carolina or Washington just kind of go all in, right, and get a guy like Deshaun Watson, where maybe you wouldn't see that from a Tampa or a Pittsburgh. They just go the veteran route, and then you see, Denver or Carolina, maybe, one of the other, and Carolina, Washington, probably draft a quarterback. Bring up the quarterback list in a second. We have some props. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this as well. Yeah, so let's get into it. So Pickett is favored here at plus 120. You got Willis there at plus 150. Howell at 6-1. So just looking at the draft board here, I mean, Carolina's picking 6. I don't know if we see, like, Jacksonville's not taking quarterback. I don't think Detroit takes one. Houston's possible, but I don't think that they do. I don't think that they take one, and if they do, maybe they move back a little bit. The Jets aren't taking a quarterback. The Giants, I can't see the Giants taking one either. And so Carolina's sitting right there, and then you got the Giants again right after at 7. I think Atlanta probably rolls with Matt Ryan again, maybe one more year. Denver's at 9, so they're certainly in the picture here to take a quarterback. Washington at 11, certainly in the conversation to take a quarterback as well. You guys here hanging out with us in the chat, what do you think? And for you as well, Pickett does seem like the guy, but man, Willis is really picking up some steam. And I know the guys are at the Senior Bowl, Ray and Debro. Man, he was really the talk of the Senior Bowl. He's really picking up some steam.
Willis is picking up steam, but I will say, you know me, I'm a gambler. I like to, look into some value here. And Matt Corral at 10-1. No, not even Hal. I think Hal is overhyped from college. I think Matt Corral has some steam from his high school days. He was highly touted. Dude, I mean, he had Heisman, candidacy written all over him all year long. He battled with ankle injuries. That's probably why he would fall a little bit here. But at 10-1, look, here's the thing. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback. I'm just talking from a value play. If we're talking about the Carolina Panthers being the first team to take a quarterback, for them to get that right, we're giving the Carolina Panthers a lot of credit, and we're not calling them the Carolina Panthers. I just think you have to remember, even like when we drafted receivers years past, and we were talking about the CD Jerry Jeudy draft class, and everyone's like, they're 1-2. And then all of a sudden, Henry Ruggs comes out of nowhere. It's these teams go with preference, man, and that's the thing. We still have the combine. We still have stock to rise. So an early lead, I think Pickett to want to either Pittsburgh or Denver makes sense, even though people are making fun of his hand size, and those places are cold. So whatever we have that debate going on, always hand size has, it plays. And I think Willis has the highest boom upside, but it would depend, right? I think if Willis goes to Carolina right away, like that's exactly what I was telling you about. I don't know if the team around him is exactly built for this guy to flourish as much as he should. Now, I know he played at Liberty and, made a living off of making something out of nothing. It's the NFL. So it wouldn't surprise me if Matt Corral went early on, but he wouldn't be inside the top 5, right? So,
no.
And then again, though, you mentioned the Panthers outside the top 5. That was the one other thing, if we're talking draft talk. I think it's interesting. You always hear teams trading up inside the top 5. Like the Jaguars make sense to trade back, right? They already got their guy. Houston, even if they're going to bypass on quarterback, I just don't think there's interest in teams right now to go all the way up to get a guy when you can trade back. Again, like with the Giants at 5 and 7, you can probably get some value there, and you won't have to give up as much as you would, to go all the way up to 1 to do it. So there's going to be some moving parts in the draft. I think it's super early to take any significant leads, but if I can get 10-1 on a guy who, might be able to climb throughout the combine process, I'll take a sprinkle.
I like the comment, the comparison from Josh Gillum there that Corral reminds him of Drew Brees. I kind of see some of that as well, just a little bit there. But, for Willis, he's definitely dynamic. I'll say that, right? I don't think any of these guys would be fantastic year 1 starters. That's my issue with like Denver, get a quarterback. Carolina get a quarterback. Maybe they roll with Sam Darnold once more. Washington get a quarterback. But these guys aren't going to be game changers, I don't think, in year 1 for some of these teams. That's why I think like a team like Tampa and Pittsburgh, they probably go the veteran route because their rosters are pretty stacked. We do have to break. We're going to go longer than the actual show on Game Plus. I wanted to get into some NBA stuff with you, and I got some NHL stuff as well. But this one comment too, I don't know if you can find it. I'm trying to scroll up as well. Calvin Ridley. Where is Calvin Ridley going? It's from Josh. Where is Calvin Ridley going? His time in Atlanta is over. It does seem to be over. There's some talk there, Philadelphia. I wouldn't hate it, to be honest. I think the Eagles should use probably their 3 first-round picks on some defensive backs, maybe get themselves a corner, get younger defensively. But certainly we all know that this team needs a second piece in the offense after Smith in there. And I'm fine with getting a Bama boy. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is very familiar with Calvin Ridley. And then you get Smith in there. You get more Bama guys, the better. I'm just seeing that across the league, right? You drop Bama guys, it seems to work out for most teams in there. Clemson, Bama, get the studs from those 2 teams. But I don't know if the Eagles flip one of those first-round picks, but I think Reagor is done. Quez Watkins, there is a bit of a back and forth between Gilden and Jordan. Quez Watkins is okay, but I agree with Gilden. He's more of a 3. Jordan's a big Quez Watkins guy. Settle down there, Jordan. No, jokes aside. He's speedy, but he's not a 2. They need a 2. I'd like to see Ridley. It'd be all right.
So you want to know who I was thinking of? And I haven't given this takeout yet, but it's giving me very Alshon Jeffrey vibes that Allen Robinson in free agency goes over to Philadelphia. And I think that answers a lot of Philly's problems. Because why give up so much to get Calvin Ridley? Philly finally did the right thing. You finally have draft picks,
got the 3 picks. Yeah.
You can't draft a wide receiver to save your life. So I understand trying to go get one. But if you can get Allen Robinson on a 2-year deal, right? The guy's older. He's still capable. I mean, he's literally Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey came from Chicago. They're the outside guy there. He obviously had a ton of success. I'm not trying to one-on-one them, right? They're not the same receiver, but I think it's an interesting landing spot for him because he's got to go somewhere. Allen Robinson's driving me crazy because I think he's the one guy this offseason that people are kind of overlooking, and I think he could still really help a team out right now because, dude, and he was chirping on Twitter, I think yesterday or a couple days ago that, look at his numbers. It's not like he did that by choice. His targets got cut in half. His numbers got cut in half. I don't think it was the player. I think it was more the situation. So I think he could help a team out significantly. I think Philly would make a ton of sense for him as well.
Yeah, Gilden, throwback to when Philly traded for the Dream Team. That worked out really, really well, didn't it? Nnamdi Asomugha, just pay the guy,
Smith.
right?
Steve Smith.
My goodness. That was
Giants great, baby.
I mean, Asomugha had all those picks that one season. I don't want to get into it too much, but like Diggs, right? People talk about Diggs being elite corner. He had all those picks and things this season, but the dude got burned all year. Nobody had given up more receiving yards than Diggs, Trayvon, right? He's a ball hawk, and he jumped routes, and there's good and there's bad. We've seen both sides of it this year, but Nnamdi Asomugha, nobody targeted him for a year, and they thought he was the best corner in football, and then all of a sudden everybody started to target him, and then it was all over. Vince Young is a good one as well. Yeah,
Vince Young, the best Vince Young story on the Eagles I have is that he beat the Giants on Sunday Night Football on a win, 13-7. It was one of the worst and coldest games I've ever watched with my own eyes, and just watching Vince Young beat the Giants is just like, what? Why? Why? Yeah. Right? Sunday Night Football. Why? But made total sense. And I think his best games actually came against the Giants because I think his best comeback on the Titans was against the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe re-sign him whenever you play the Giants this year if Jalen Hurts goes down, and maybe he still has something in the tank.
All right, you want to break? We'll break, kind of regroup. Guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I know we're going a little bit long. We'll just maybe have a 5-minute conversation, get your thoughts on some MVP stuff for the NBA All-Star game. We have some threes. We're not going to really dive into the slam dunk contest. I think we're both on the same page. We can touch on that as well. And then we also have some NHL stuff. So Mean Streets, a couple more segments here. Hang tight. Welcome back in. Mean Streets here, live on our FTN YouTube page. The people want a weekend show from Tino. Maybe it's something that we can revisit in the future. Am the artist says, giddy up. Jordan says, yeah, Tino deserves the weekends off. Gilden just laughed out loud on that one. And
if I did a Saturday show, it would just be college basketball picks where Gilden just goes against all of the picks I have. So
how about George? You guys want a show with the three of us drunk on a Saturday night? Yeah, Labatt's will be flowing here tonight. I am feeling that loss last night by the St. Louis Blues. Man, that's why I'm rocking this silly hat and this gold Caulfield shirt. Scored a guest last night. I had to rock it. I do agree that since we're on the Vince Young thing, this has been a pretty fun conversation. No time limits here. We're just kind of, shooting the shit here a little bit. But Young was a really good quarterback in college, right? He was obviously really, really good. Maybe a little bit overhyped. That didn't translate into the NFL. He had some moments, but Vince and Tebow, arguably top three college quarterbacks ever. I don't hate that call.
Who's a better NFL quarterback? Who's better? Tebow, right? Tebow. I mean, I'll
never forget the moment in the playoffs against the Steelers being on Pittsburgh. I remember the spread and thinking it was a little high. I think they were touchdown favorites. And that first play of overtime to DT, Demaryius Thomas, and the crossing route, and they took it to the house. That was a massive upset and a huge moment for Tim Tebow. I do remember that one as well. Yeah, Vince Young, as Joshua Frick checks in here, Vince Young was the greatest college quarterback
That's
ever.
where you lose me because, like, I mean, I don't know. I will say he was probably a part of the greatest college football game ever. You can get me in that, and probably led one of the best comebacks in college football history ever. But that could even be disputed now too. But still, I'm old enough and young enough that I was able to still recollect that game. That USC Texas game was unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. The Clemson Alabama game was very reminiscent of that, with Watson and Hunter Renfrow scoring the game winner. But I guess the Alabama walk-off too, when Devonta Smith caught it. But I don't know. I think that was the best game of all time in college football history, really, Texas USC. I think it's hard to really compact that. Just think about Reggie Bush and that USC team. It's insane.
Dirty. Check up this from Am the Artist before you get into some college stuff. I would love it if George and Tino and Meaney on Saturdays. Labatt Saturdays would be so great. I mean, Saturday night hockey, here we go. Like,
everyone just giving Labatt
as well.
Yeah, the Labatt Saturday show just seems like it's a staple. I think we got
I'm still working on some Labatt promos. Going to send them some stuff like a 6-pack of shot props. Maybe we'll have to get on that now that football has kind of died down. Have some room to breathe before we get into Major League Baseball. You got some college stuff you want to run by? Some picks? What are you thinking?
So Gilden did say we're 2-0 when we're on the same side. That's right, and we have agreed in the past before. So here's what I'm going to do. I have 2 games that I like, and then 1 game I'd love a take on because it's kind of hard for me to figure out. I want to bet the home team, but it seems like the away team has too many points. So the one road dog I'm going to go with, I have a home team that I kind of like, but the one road dog I'm going with is Ohio against Kent State today. They're close to even money. They're plus 1.5. I have no interest in taking the point. Kent State's been rolling. I know I'll get told they're a stingy team, which they are. I just think Ohio's better. Really good conference record. I think it's going to be neck and neck. But out of all the underdog plays right now that I can see on the board, I think I like Ohio the most here. And it's probably trending down against us. So this is probably a good number to get in on now before it turns into a pick 'em. And then the only other game I'm pretty confident in, I'm going to just play the money line on this one, minus 130. I'm going to take VCU against Richmond. Richmond's another sound team. I think these teams are going to come down to the wire as well. But I don't know. I like what VCU's been able to put together here. They're home. They're the better defensive team. And I think that'll be the biggest thing. Richmond's better offensively. So if we can get a defensive outing from VCU at home, which I'm hoping on because home field matters so much in college basketball, then I think we can get that win with VCU. The one game I got to figure out what Gilden's on because it's nasty and Oakland's burned me before. It's just Wright State plus 4 against Oakland on the road in Oakland. Both of these teams, they're so hot and cold. You can't really get a pulse on them. So Wright State won by 11 points the last time these two played. It seems like you want to take Wright State plus 11, but could be a rat line. They haven't been great against the spread. And Oakland, although they've only won 2 out of the last 5, they're home, like Gilden said. So it's one of those that's college basketball. It's college basketball in a nutshell. Right. You're like overthinking it. I'm looking both sides to this. So I want to take Wright State plus 4, especially because they beat Oakland before. But yeah, I don't know. So please let me know, Gilden, if you hear this. I know you are. Oh, Jordan, of course, Nebraska is a home dog. And yes, we're on Nebraska against Maryland. I can't not say, can't say any more on that. Yeah, so Richmond is athletic, though. VCU thrives against less athletic teams. I believe that. I'm not saying that's not the case. It's just the board's kind of tight today. Richmond isn't that good of a team, right? They're athletic, but they could be susceptible to some turnovers. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna stick with VCU for now, but yeah, Ohio's the way I'm going for sure. I think that's my favorite play, even though that's gonna be a dogfight in itself.
I don't want to get back into the football, but I love this comment from Joshua Frick as well. Texas and USC, and then Kansas City and Buffalo, 2 best games he's ever seen. I don't think I can argue with that comment either. I will go down even now. I remember we had the conversation, recency bias is always in your head, but that Bills and Chiefs game, that was absolutely phenomenal to watch there. Let's switch gears. We want to talk a little NBA quickly, and then we'll have some NHL stuff as well.
Hey, guys, I won't look at this. Queuing us up too.
Here we go. Who do you guys have winning the dunk 3-point and skills contest? So we do have some odds, some MVP stuff. What do you have there for boards? What do you want to start with here? Do you want to get into the threes, the three contest?
We can do the threes for sure. Let's do that because I don't think we have the dunk contest, but Jalen Green's winning the dunk contest, so we don't have to harp on that one too much.
I agree, right? And it's not great odds. I think I saw plus 160 for Green to take home the slam dunk contest. It hasn't been the same in years past, to be honest with you. I haven't really I haven't really been feeling it lately, but we wanted to dive in here to the 3-point contest because there's some pretty good odds here. You know, Fred VanVleet, Trae Young, these guys are favored here. Luke Kennard is in there. He's got 44% from beyond the arc. It's the second best mark in the NBA behind PJ Tucker. Desmond Bane in there. Patty Mills, 42% from beyond the arc as well. Cat is in this one. And then CJ McCollum, who had the 7 threes. I like to take long shots at 10-1. I think he's pretty appealing to me, but I think I know where you're going, Patty Mills. I don't think I can really argue that one, dude.
I mean, if you watched him yesterday, he looked like he's in prime 3-point contest form. Yeah, I think, though, in general, I see where your guys are at. Even with CJ McCollum, I'll make a case on both of them. I kind of did this when Joe Harris, former Nets great, still Nets great, but, he doesn't step on the court anymore. So it just, for me, it's like, why am I going to go to the top of the board here and take a Luke Kennard, even a Zach LaVine over, the back end of the board and CJ McCollum and Patty Mills? You can just get so much more value. And really, this is kind of a heat check contest, right? So it's who's going to bring it that day. Look, if Joe Harris can beat Steph Curry in a final in the 3-point contest, maybe even Cat wins this thing, right? I've seen crazier things in the 3-point contest. I'm looking back into the board, right? I actually don't mind sprinkling maybe on Patty and CJ McCollum, and you're going to come up either way. So I'm avoiding the top. Desmond Bane, decent value. I see that in the chat as well. It's not bad. I have zero interest. I guess Trae Young, if I had to pick someone in the top 4 there, I'd go Trae, but yeah, I mean, I don't love it. I don't love it at 4.5-1. It's just weird that him and Fred VanVleet have the same number too at plus 450. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, VanVleet's been okay. I mean, 4 threes per game. He jacks up a ton, 10, right? But 40% from beyond the arc. Only Curry has more threes per game. Mills is in there in the top 5, 3.2. Just looking at some statistics here. Yeah. McCollum's inside the top 10 as well, 3.1. I mean, I could definitely get a sprinkle a little bit on CJ, and I like the Patty Mills call as well. There's some people that seem, Kennard did go nuts last night. I mean, he's among the leaders in, efficiency from beyond the arc as well. And I do agree with Jordan that there's good value on Desmond Bane, but I think here Josh says Trae or Kennard. I'm gonna go in on two guys.
Cut out? Oh, we might have a Tino show early here if Meaney doesn't come back soon.
What?
Oh, there you are. You froze on my end. I froze? You froze on my end.
Man, need some better internet here. It's of course no surprise. It's the weekend, so it's storming here where I'm at. Just to recap, I'm in on 2 guys. I'm going to sprinkle on CJ and I'm going to sprinkle on Patty Mills. Those are my 2 guys. But honestly, I know that like Fred VanVleet is up at the top and there's no real value at plus 450. But I would not be shocked if he was the guy.
Isn't it weird though? You said
Gilton says he didn't freeze for me. It was you. It was you, dude. You froze.
It's okay. Hand up then. Hand up on my terrible Wi-Fi. I did want to say, though, isn't it weird that the 3-point contest is more exciting than the slam dunk contest in the last couple of years? It's been more competitive. The skills contest, we don't have the odds on that, actually. I do want to look at it. Has been pretty eventful, too, because I like that the skills contest, the big men have been holding it down. Like, you saw Sabonis win one year, and I think Cat won, and Jokic won. And so I like it because it's even playing field, right? Give the big men some love. These contests don't really gear towards the big men. I guess the slam dunk contest a little bit, but even then, that's kind of pulled out. We got shooting guards in there now. We can talk about the dunk contest. I just I guess of all the big men, I don't buy the Obi Toppin hype. Like, what is he going to do, right? Just pull a Dwight Howard and throw it into the rim. I don't know. Giannis team winning skills. I want to see the skills contest odds, please.
Yeah, I'm rolling through. Bring up the MVP odds. We can talk through this too. I'm looking at DraftKings here live, so things have really changed. McCollum on DK is plus 750. The odds that we gave you guys were on FanDuel, I do believe. So the 10-1. See if you can get that. Kennard is now favored at plus 450. Patty Mills has dropped down to 5-1, and Cat has moved to 11-1. So there's a little bit more value there on Cat. I still like CJ even at plus 750 there. Fred VanVleet, I think, is okay again at 5-1 as well. So this is just a list of all we got everything here for the All-Star Game MVP. I might be a little bit of a homer here. I know Luka's coming off the bench, but 25-1 seems pretty spectacular for him and Jokic as guys that could just take over the game and have a triple-double. How much will, Giannis and James and Curry, obviously these guys can certainly take over. I think Ja Morant at 9-1 is pretty interesting as well. He's having a breakout campaign. He could be the story in this game, right? Sometimes you see in the All-Star game, some of these veterans, they take a bit of a step back, and then you see maybe some young and upcoming guys who could just really take over, like a Trae Young, like a Ja Morant, like a Jokic. or Doncic rather. But at 25-1 for me, like I don't think Chris Paul's the guy that's going to be out there, just crushing it and a ton of minutes, and he gets his double-digit assists. But is he going to have like a 30-point performance? I highly doubt it. Like Booker could certainly go off for like 30+ points, maybe chip in there, but. Embiid is a good one. Embiid's pretty solid at 8-1. It's just the two guys that really stand out to me is Ja at 9-1, and again Luka at 25-1. I don't know if I'm being a homer there, but what do you think?
So I'm right with you. So I think the biggest thing in this game is you got a stat pack. Like scoring helps, but I like where you said the triple double, right? And I think Luka and Jokic are great values for that reason at 20 to 25-1. They're going to fill up the stat sheet. They won't be totally selfish with the ball. And at the same time, I think their scoring could get there. You read my mind. I love Ja at 9-1, but I don't know if he'll get there. I'm looking at the back end of the board, and I love to dabble. Give me Cat at 100-1 though. Am I crazy?
Right?
Even at Donovan Mitchell at 80-1. Like I kind of love that. I think those guys could fill it up too. I think Cat could definitely fill up the stat sheet. The thing is, I don't know if he'll get enough playing time. That'll be the biggest thing. So on the right half of the board, I guess we could go a Jimmy Butler or Devin Booker, but I think the value really is on the left side here. Bottom left, I love the Jokic call. I really do. At 20-1, I think that might be a steal. Even Doncic. You got to think, too, these guys got to have a little bit of notoriety if they're going to give him the award. So,
right.
Yeah. That's what George also made us a beautiful graphic here for the dunk contest. I didn't want to throw this up.
Oh, geez. Look at this, George. He's hard at her all the time. Jalen Green plus 125. You got Toppin in there. Cole Anthony. And then plus 475 here for the Toscano Anderson.
Juan Toscano Anderson, are we doing it? I mean, I think Jalen Green got it, but actually, why not,
right? I mean, if you're looking for some value here, I mean, I could get behind it, I guess, but I do think Jalen Green wins. Josh Gillum says Toppin gonna win. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Green, it's not ideal to sit here and give you the chalk play, but Green at plus 125, maybe you can put it into some parlays or whatnot. I think there's just some more value to sprinkle down on the MVP of the actual All-Star game. Team LeBron favored by 5.5, and the over-under. Did you take a look at the over-under?
I did not. What is like 300?
It's 320.25. Yeah,
it's absolutely ridiculous.
I think I have a lean to the over. I'm not sure there though, but
I also wanted to note that in the dunk contest, I need to know who the judges are before we go into bet it. Like, because the judging is obviously the entire contest, right? I mean, the reason it's been so diminished is that all these the D Wade controversy from years past during the Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine dunk contest was something in itself. So, I need to know who they are. And just one last thing, just because George got it to us too, is the skills comp. And here are the odds. I see why you like Team Giannis. I see it now because I think the rookies make a lot of sense. They're the deserving favorite. The Cavs are kind of sneaky. They have the big men, but I don't know. Jared Allen in there. I don't know about his passing ability. I know he's great at blocking shots and rebounding and putting back dunks, but I don't know about that necessarily dishing out passes. Team Giannis, man, right? Giannis is playing in that. He's got the brother connection. At 4-1, that's actually not a bad sprinkle. I mean, I'm not betting the rookies at minus 150. I'm definitely staying away. If I'm betting this at all, I'll probably bet Team Giannis at 4-1.
I like it. I dig it.
Yeah.
Who wins the game? Team LeBron?
Well, neither of them have nets anymore, right? Because James Harden's out too. No Kevin Durant. So I'm in the middle here. I
don't know if anybody's aware, but here's the starters. Team LeBron. Giannis, Curry, DeRozan, LeBron, Jokic. The reserves, Allen, Butler, Doncic, Garland, Harden.
I'm going Team LeBron. Team LeBron.
Mitchell, right? CP3, Fred VanVleet. Team Durant has Katie, Embiid, Ja, Tatum, Wiggins. My goodness. Be at the game, but why are you starting? Trae Young, reserves, LaMelo, Booker, Gobert, Levine, Middleton, Deontay, Kat, and Draymond, who I don't think will play in that game.
He's not playing either.
So, I think I liked Team LeBron here. They seem pretty stacked.
Well, it's because LeBron's playing too. Like that's the other thing, right? Like,
LeBron, Curry, Giannis, Jokic, and Doncic coming off the bench. It's pretty good, right?
And you said they're 5-point favorites. They're 5-point favorites.
Yeah.
5.5. Well, I mean, I don't think the spread even matters. The team who wins is probably going to win by 1,000. Wait, no, they have the new format? No, where it's because of the Kobe Bryant tribute. They played a 21, I think, in the fourth quarter, don't they, or something along those lines. I don't know if the chat could clear that up for me. there is something different in the All-Star game now. I'm just making sure we don't get caught up in a trap here on
the game at this. Like Josh brings it up too. Like, look at this team: Giannis, LeBron, Curry, and Joker. Like Jokic on that one team, Joker, and as that's it seems illegal, right? And Luka coming off the bench. So
the real illegal part though, Meaney, is that Jokic is going to bring his brothers who are in the front stands, the front row of the stands, and that's the real illegal part because those guys are going to be enforcers that everyone won't be overlooking. I'm going to look up the rules on this NBA.
I think they crush them. And I love this comment from Gildan. If John Hamm is if he's a judge this weekend on the dunk contest, don't bet anything, right? We got burned by that NHL skills competition. I still feel robbed not having Trevor Zegras win that thing. It was just absolutely insane. And we should get out of here. I know people are hanging out. We've gone an hour already. I still have some NHL picks I want to give you guys as well. You're looking up some stuff on the fly on how the All-Star. It doesn't matter. Team LeBron.
It's 24. It's the team that scored 24 points first in the fourth quarter wins. So that's the game. I don't know. I something like that. They got to score 20. It says Team LeBron. So if the cumulative score through three quarters is 100-95, which is important because the spread's 5. In favor of Team LeBron, the target score would be 124. Team LeBron would only need to score 24 points in order to win, while Team Durant would need to score 29 points. The results of the previous three quarters are simply based on the individual scores of those quarters. I don't know.
What is happening with the
Tread lightly, man. Tread lightly.
Team LeBron, guys. They win by like double digits. I think they did. Keep her locked. One more segment. Some NHL picks. We'll try to rebound from yesterday. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back in one final time. So I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with us for the hour. I mean, it really does mean a whole lot for you guys to just be hanging out with us while we just kind of, shoot the shit about randomness, which quarterbacks are going to, bounce around in these teams and having the fun college basketball conversation, some NBA stuff as well. So going to wrap up here with some NHL picks. Again, we got to try to regroup from yesterday. I think we did hit a lot of stuff. We just get some shot props, the Oilers in 60. We did get a few things right, but the Blues really let us down. So I'm really feeling that. I feel like I gotta get some picks here for you guys. So let's bring up this. Tino, what do you got? So the matchups here on the board, we can kind of roll through these and then we'll recap a little bit towards the end. Him, the artist, we need more time. Appreciate you, dude. Welcome to the FTN fam. It was nice to see you in the Discord channel yesterday, and you almost hit a massive parlay with shot props and games. You just got burned by, of course, the St. Louis Blues. But all these games are really intriguing to me. The Nashville Predators, Carolina Hurricanes. Last night we had Carolina in the bet tracker at minus 156. You know, across the board, they're around minus 175 here. I do think that they win in regulation. The Preds are kind of, they're reeling a little bit, right? They've come back down to earth slightly. This should still be a really good game. These two teams played in the playoffs last year, and it was really, really entertaining. Carolina got by them, but Nashville held their own. This is the game here that I'm having a hard time with, Florida, Minnesota. Like, if you've been following along with my work all year, these are my two teams, right? I got 4 futures in the bet tracker. The Panthers at 26-1, the Golden Knights. These are my 2 preseason teams. I've jumped on Carolina about a month in, and then I jumped in on Calgary recently. I am going to pick a 5th team. I'll probably wait until the deadline passes. I think the Minnesota Wild could add a guy like Claude Giroux. And man, if you put him on that second line with Matthew Boldy and Kevin Fiala, look out. I really do like this Wild team. They're one of the better teams at home. I'm really intrigued by the plus 110, but I can't bet against the Panthers. This total has moved up to 7 in some spots. I think we see a lot of goals, and I'm not going to take the over. I'm not going to take the under. I think we could have some fun with some props in this that came out weird. Some assist props. I think we could get behind Barkov plus money for an apple. I think, even though Bennett didn't hit the other day, plus 250 for an assist, plus money for a point. On the other side, Matthew Boldy for a point. Shot prop, can't find it anywhere besides Prize Picks at 2.5 rather. This is something he's cleared now consistently over the past 2 weeks or so. We've talked a lot about him on the show. I think we'll see some offense as we move over to some of the picks. So we got Hurricanes on the money line. Again, last night at minus 156 over at FanDuel. A little bit juiced now. I think you can put them in a parlay with the Dallas Stars. I put in last night minus 134 over at FanDuel. So you see the odds changing around there a little bit as well. So both of those two teams I'm on the money line. And the final game I didn't really touch on was Vegas and Los Angeles. So I kind of have a lean to the Kings there, to be honest with you. I think, with Jack Eichel there, just the lineup is completely different across the board. Like the 3 lines are different. There's maybe take some time for Vegas to kind of, get some chemistry with some of these guys. The Kings are a scrappy team. Both teams are really, really stingy. They're both inside the top 3 in eliminating chances at 5-5 and shot attempts. So it was really tough for me not to go, to Eichel, Pacioretty. These guys are at 2.5 on Prize Picks. I went with Kopitar here at 2.5 shots. The Kings do put a lot of rubber on net. They don't score a ton of goals, but for Kopitar, he's really shooting. His last 4 games, he's cleared 2.5. Heck, he's cleared 3.5, 4, 5, 4, and 5. He had the 1 shot against the Islanders, and he had 3 before that. So he's actually cleared 2.5 here in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of his past 10 games. Joe Pavelski for an assist. That's plus money. You guys know how I feel about that top line. I'm not really finding anything from shot props when it comes to Hintz, Robertson, or Pavelski. You can find them at Prize Picks. We have the free pick tracker over at ftndaily.com. And if you're new to Prize Picks, you can use the promo code FTN. That'll get you a 100% first-time deposit match of up to $100. You can put 4 guys on a 2-pick flex play or a 4-pick flex play. You go 3 for 4, you win some cash. But for me, it's all about that top line in Dallas. I've been taking all 3 over 2.5 shot props because usually 2 of the 3 hit. They just generate so much offense. They've been one of the best lines in the NHL at 5-5. And for Joe Pavelski, he's been an assist machine. He's got 16 assists in his last 18 games. You can get that at plus money. I like Robertson to score a goal and maybe Pavelski to have the assist, but also Hintz and Robertson are plus money for an apple as well. A really good matchup here against the Blackhawks, who allowed 7 goals last night to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're going to have Fleury between the pipes. It's obviously a much better goalie than the kid that they threw in last night, Soderblom, who got absolutely lit. But the Stars are certainly in play. And then Reinhart's the plus money. I have Alexander Barkov in the tracker as well at 3.5 plus money. He's just an absolute monster. But what I've noticed from Reinhart is the ice time has increased. They're really playing a lot. That third line has definitely got some chemistry with Lundell and Mason Marchman, who I think is a heck of a player as well. But for Reinhart, he's got goals in 4 straight. He's got 5 over that span. He's cleared 2.5 shots in 4 straight games. He has 19 shots in those 4 games, 3, 4, 4, and he had 8 against the San Jose Sharks. If you wanted to pick one, I would go with Barkov, but I really do like Reinhart here at plus money. And then Teuvo Teravainen, He's our free pick of the day, so proceed with caution. Jokes aside, Tebow's been really good. He is cleared now in 7 straight games, 3, 5, 4, 3, 4, 4, and 5, and the Preds have given up a lot lately as well. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. Going to have a whole lot more in our FTN bet tracker as well. If you are looking to be part of the fam, again, you see it on the bottom there. You can use the promo code Mean Streets. You can use the promo code Meaney NHL. I believe NHL will give you the 20% off, and you're going to have picks from everybody. And I'm seeing Josh Gross is up over 200 units in tennis. What? Like 200 units tennis betting? It's unheard of. We've lost a little bit in the NHL, but I'm confident we'll get back going here. Hopefully we can get back going. I think the props is certainly the way to go. We're about 50 units from the props, and we're about 30 units from the sides as well. We've lost a little bit on some crazy parlays and whatnot, but I like to have a little fun on a Parlay Friday. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. I think that's it. I think it is all. Yeah, Josh Gross is absolutely legendary. It's unbelievable. He's so sharp in tennis, NBA, MLB. We both had futures on Corbin Burns to win the Cy Young. I believe he got it at a really nice price, and he's super sharp when it comes to everything, the Olympics as well. One more George graphic coming. Yes, Anze Kopitar. It looks like that Labatt bottle's a little tough for him right now. He's struggling to hold it up. We can get the big lift, the Stanley Cup lift from Kopitar. He's raised the cup a couple times in LA. We all drink Labatt's no matter what. If Kopitar has 3 shots or not, we all do it. Appreciate you guys. George made 100 graphics for us today. Tino, welcome back. We loved having you back as well. Hopefully everybody has a fantastic weekend. Again, that betting package, you got the college sports in there. You got the NBA picks. I think Ratcliffe's up about 70 units here in the last couple months betting NBA props alone. So we do have a lot to offer over at ftnbets.com despite the NFL season being over. We appreciate you guys hanging out. Have a great night, a great weekend, and we will be back on Monday. Easy for me to say. Have a good one, guys. Cheers. I'm gonna hat on.